Hello, I'm John, and I'm with Brandon here, and we are J&N Travels Sports Edition today. How you doing today, Brandon?
I'm great. How are you?
Good. It's been a little bit while since we did a sports show, but both of us are in many 8 to 10 combined fantasy leagues, and we started our ranking of players. And we thought, what would better way than do it at the very beginning and try and share with some of you people out there. Hopefully, a lot of you people who are into the fantasy sports will check out the replay and try and get some ideas. So that's where we're at, Brandon. Would you like to introduce yourself to the crowd?
Sure, yeah. I'm Brandon and playing close to between 5 to 6 different fantasy football leagues, all different kind of scoring and kind of point total leagues and some dynasty leagues and some just season-long keeper leagues. And so excited to do this rankings.
Okay, so we'll go right into it. Now, keep in mind, we are just ranking players. We're not talking about strategies or anything like that. These are just the players that we're trying to put in order for this week. Now, exhibitions games start, is it next week or the week after? Very soon.
Yeah, I think 5th. I think Steelers, Cowboys are August 5th, yeah.
So taking that in consideration, a lot of this stuff will change. We're going to do another review, updating our rankings down the road before the season starts. And I'm imagining that a lot of these rankings will probably change a little bit by that point.
I think so.
So, Brandon, let's go by categories. We're doing, I think it's 7 categories today. And the first one we're going to do is quarterbacks. Okay, it looks like we both have, if you follow us down, this is my picks on the left and Brandon's are on the right. Looks like we both have Mahomes.
Yeah, I think that's a no-brainer for sure. Plenty of weapons and probably the best talent for quarterback position for sure.
And second on the list, Josh Allen, which I was surprised we both picked him.
Yeah, same thing. That Stephon Diggs trade last year was huge for him, and again, plenty of talent. So yeah, that's no surprise there.
And it seems like it's gotten the Buffalo Bills have gotten a little bit stronger.
Yeah, absolutely.
Then I go down on my list. I have Justin Herbert, who had a fantastic season last year. I think he's only going to get better. And you follow yours with Kyler Murphy.
Yeah, Kyler Murray. Points, running, great arm, offensive kind of scheme with the Arizona Cardinals and Cliff Kingsbury as their head coach who likes to air it out. So I'm expecting a big season from him. I love Justin Herbert, and I like the fact that you have him 3, but I'm anticipating a little drop off with a sophomore slump.
Yeah, I can see that, and I have Murray next. So obviously, I have him ranked very high too. And you have Lamar Jackson. Now, I'm usually adverse to picking quarterbacks that their strength is running. That's why I don't have him very high on my list. Why did you pick him as number 4?
I think just the fact that I think kind of where you think with Herbert, where he's going to just get only better. I think Lamar Jackson throwing the ball, which has obviously been kind of his Achilles heel, if you will. I think he's going to take some steps in the passing game, and I think he's still going to give you everything in the running game that he's given you before. So I think he's only going to get better.
And my number 5, now that all the bad press and everything else is going by, and Rodgers has seemed to settled into signing up with the team, I was even going to rank him higher, but I figured there's still a little bit of bad attitude on his part. So I have him as 5th. And you go back with Dak Prescott coming back from an injury.
Yeah, I love that Rodgers pick. I think he's going to be an interesting one in fantasy leagues. He could be even the second. You could even have him potentially ahead of Josh Allen, and people probably picking him ahead of Josh Allen in some leagues, obviously coming off of winning the MVP. I feel like there's going to be a ton of issues with kind of, is he happy? Is he not happy? Where's the locker room at? Is the locker room divided? And I think it's kind of like Kevin Durant with the Golden State Warriors that last year, everybody seemed to be walking on eggshells. Right. I'm just wondering if that's kind of what's going to happen there. And I think Dak's going to have a huge bounce back year. When I say bounce back, coming off the injury. And I think, I'd be curious to know what your thoughts, but I think that he probably has the best wide wide receiving crew in the entire NFL.
I think Prescott's going to have a big year if he doesn't show signs of his injury. And of course, we'll be able to judge that as we start getting into the training and the exhibition games.
Yeah.
The other positive note on Rodgers that I thought was both him and Devontae are both going to be wanting to have big years.
Yeah.
To make the trade value go up. So I think that's going to be a big ticket item there too.
Yeah, Devontae just stopped with contract talks.
Yes.
And interestingly, Dak just came out that he's having some shoulder soreness. I think maybe rotator cuff. So stay tuned in a couple of weeks, and he could be dropped down a little bit.
And for both those reasons you mentioned, that's why I put Rodgers ahead of. Well, we have Dak. I don't even think. Oh yeah, I do have him down to 10. Okay, so moving down to the 6th slot. This is a surprise, I'm sure, to you. Now, I'm basing this on the fact that hasn't been arrested yet, hasn't been suspended yet. I just think he's such a good quarterback that if he plays, he's going to have big numbers. Now, when we update this, I may turn and say, okay, he's down out of the top 15 because of other issues. But right now, that's where I put him if I was going to draft. And you're going over with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I think Russell's a safe pick for sure. And I know Pete Carroll kind of he said that he wants to get back to really that ground and pound game. But I mean, Wilson's got Lockett and DK Metcalf, who we'll talk about, I'm sure, in a few. But so great wide receiving crew and a great talent. I don't think Deshaun Watson's gonna see the field this year, and I hope he does. As long as everything's legally all settled and everything. But I just don't know if he's going to play this year.
You think he's going to be traded?
I don't. I'm not sure traded or suspended with the league. Now, who knows what's going on legally and everything. But I think he doesn't really have much trade value right now with everything hanging over his head. So I think he'll probably stick around with the Texans until something really comes out with everything that's going on with the accusations.
That's a problem. I think they missed a boat on his trade value. Now they're going to definitely take a loss on where they trade, but I think they almost have to. But we'll see what happens there. I just noticed, welcome in Eric B. Thank you for joining us. We're talking quarterbacks right now, the rankings of the top, in our opinion, the top quarterbacks in the league. So my number 7th is Wilson. So yours was 6, mine 7, pretty close. The only reason he was a notch lower is, once again, I'm not into running quarterbacks. I know he doesn't run as much anymore, and going across the board, you're with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, Justin Herbert. And for those of you that don't know, John and I play in a few leagues together as well, too. So I think I was joking with him once I saw these rankings come out. I was saying that he was messing with me by putting Herbert at 3 just because I have Herbert in one of a big keeper league that we have. So I hope Herbert's up in that 3 spot like you have him ranked. But I just see, like we talked about a little bit before, I see a little bit of a sophomore slump.
That's funny. Eric B says I would put Tua in my 15. He's going to prove everyone wrong. Monster year. He's a big, obviously, Miami fan.
Okay.
And I couldn't find. I don't even think I had Tua in my top 20. Did you?
No, I don't know. I get nervous for that. Everyone talks about the arm and his lack of arm strength, and he didn't. It was funny. Miami won once he started taking over for Fitzmagic, but he just didn't really amaze me at all.
Right. The 8th slot. Okay, I've got Stafford. I think Stafford's going to have a big year. The new place, new receivers. I think he's going to have a very successful year. You have Rodgers, and probably for all the reasons you just mentioned, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I actually agree with that Stafford. And you can see I have Stafford one below, but I think Stafford will have a great year with that new system. And Sean McVay is a phenomenal offensive-minded coach. So I see nothing but big things with Matt Stafford.
Okay, number 9. The only reason Brady is above Prescott right here is because of Prescott's potential injuries. That's why I have him, or he'd be much higher. I did put Brady at number 9. I think it's a little too high, but you got to go on reputation. You got to go on his success. I mean, until he proves us wrong, right?
Yeah, completely understandable. I just think that they're going to really try to establish the run a little bit more and try to kind of preserve Brady's career and longevity a little bit. And I think they're going to try to take the ball out of his hands a little bit. That's why I have him ranked just a little bit lower. But, I mean, like you said, the reputation and the success that he's had in the past, 9 makes sense.
I do think the defense is going to play a bigger part in Tampa Bay this year too.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And you get Stafford over here.
Yep. And so again, same thing that we just talked about.
Okay. I've got Prescott at 10. We already talked about Prescott. Great quarterback. He'd be much higher if I wasn't worried about his injury.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got Ryan Tannehill, which is not as silly as it looks.
Yeah. I mean, 2 years ago, if you would have asked me if Ryan Tannehill was in the top 15, I would have probably said you're crazy. But yeah, I mean, the past 2 years, he's been one of the top fantasy quarterbacks, and that trade for Julio Jones, I think, is only going to help with his numbers. I still think they'll lean heavy on Derrick Henry, but I think he'll be a top 10 fantasy quarterback this year.
I think Tannehill is above average, not a lot above average, but above average. But when you have a backfield like that and you get the 2 receivers, lead receivers,
Man, yeah.
I mean, you have to really screw up to go bad. Let's see here, checking over. Eric would put Mahomes number 1 like us, and Rodgers number 2. So he's going back on the fact that Rodgers having another MVP season.
Yeah, and I think I did say that, right? I think I said I could see Rodgers going 2 in a lot of leagues after Mahomes. So.
And he's on one of my keeper leagues, so I certainly hope he does. Yeah. Okay, so we drop down to 11th spot with Lamar Jackson. Okay, here's my running quarterback now. That's why he's so low. And I still don't think Baltimore has the offensive weapons that a lot of the teams do. So he's not going to go much higher than 11. I was actually going to put him lower.
Can you imagine if Lamar Jackson actually had a legitimate number 1 though?
Yeah,
I know.
Well, you wonder.
And they were in talks for Julio, and I said that would be a game changer for Lamar Jackson's.
Well, they got a great tight end that you can throw that, but there's no one downfield.
Yeah, Mark Andrews, the tight end. Yeah.
Yeah, who's your number 1 quarterback? Brown. And Watkins is number 2, right?
Yeah, yeah. So that was a good pickup of Sammy Watkins. Yeah, Julio, Hollywood Brown is, maybe he might take a big step and become a true number 1.
I've always liked Watkins, but he just never seems to go past that number 2 slot, even when he's had the opportunity.
He's always hurt, too. He's always dinged up.
Let's see. Eric says, Tannehill has done me well in fantasy the past 2 years. Gotten him late round last year. The last couple of years he has. Yeah. He's been big. I think I had him 3 years ago, and that's when he started turning the corner, if I remember correctly.
You just had to get him away from Adam Gase in Miami. Yeah. And Adam Gase just about ruins everybody's career besides Peyton Manning.
In fact, I have Tannehill in one of my Protect leagues at low values when I first got him, so he'll be a happy surprise.
Yeah, I love it.
Now, your 11th spot, which is not even on my list, is Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, Jalen Hurts. I love the kid's demeanor, and he was a winner at Alabama, and I just think that he's got that perfect. I think he's kind of like a poor man's Lamar Jackson a little bit, and I think he throws it better than Lamar Jackson. So, this updated in a few weeks, this could change. I'm high on him right now. The thing is, weapon wise, I mean, he's got some great tight ends, and they have the wide receiver Rager that they drafted last year that didn't really pan out much, but maybe he takes a step up. I think Jalen Hurts is a winner, and I'll definitely be watching closely, but I think he could be close to definitely top 15, close to top 10 quarterback.
Okay, we go to the 12th spot, 12th slot, Tannehill. Now, I'm going to, on the fly right now, since I'm not going to cut and paste here, I'm going to move him up to the number 10 spot because I have him lower than 1. He goes against my arguments with Prescott injury and Lamar not one of my favorite ones, and we just point out all the reasons why Tannehill is probably got a good season. I'm going to move him from the 12th spot up to the 10th spot, but we've said enough about him. He's just got the weapons this year.
I like an audible and mid-live audible. Nice.
Exactly.
True fantasy football status right there.
And we got it's 12th spot, Mr. Brady.
Yeah, Tom Brady, and we talked about him. Definitely plenty of weapons, that's for sure. But I think they'll probably try to slow the game down a little bit, run it more, and lean on that defense a little bit more than probably they have in the past. So.
A couple of other people just popped into the live here. We've got, let's go back here a little bit. Okay, we did Tannehill. Hani's in from the Beach Life. Thank you for joining us, Hani. Kenneth Fordham from Fordman, Kenneth Oates. Hellos. Danny from Griswold Family Vacay. Thanks for coming in, Danny. And Danny and the hellos go around. Okay. All right. So back on. Did you give your thing on Brady?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
So 13 slot car. Not sure why these. Actually, I'm not sure why these next two are where they are. But I just think they always seem to have decent seasons out there in LA. So Las Vegas, I should say. What do you think about Carr?
Meh. I'm indifferent about him. I mean, as kind of a streamer, you have your top guys on a bye. Maybe you stuff him in there and hope he's got a good matchup. But yeah, I don't have Carr in my top 15 at all.
Well, it's interesting. Your number 14 is Matt Ryan, and I don't have him in my 15. And I picked Carr. I think Matt Ryan and Carr are kind of interchangeable almost.
Yeah.
Ryan, now that he's lost his top receiver, I think that him and Carr are probably on the par, won't you?
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, it depends. Does Henry Ruggs, the wide receiver that they drafted last year pretty high, who I was very high on out of Alabama, does he take a huge step and help Derek Carr out a little bit there? Who knows there? I'm just not. He doesn't really wow me by any means. And so I had Joe Burrow as my 13th there, and coming off a huge, kind of a gruesome injury, knee injury. And so I think he's got plenty of talent, and he's got plenty of weapons as well, too. So I'm excited to see if he can come back. And I know you have him next at 14, but I'm actually pretty high on him. And he was kind of picking up some steam before the injury last year as well, too. So I think he'll pick up right where he left off.
And Burrow's on my 14 would be 13. He lost a slot because of the injury coming back until he proves himself. Matt Ryan, you have 14?
Yeah, Matt Ryan 14. Again, losing Julio Jones. I feel like he's kind of steady Eddie. There's definitely some times where he's just frustrating to watch, and then there's times where you think he could be a top 5 quarterback. And so I think it kind of just evens out. They draft the rookie out of Florida, Kyle Pitts, who I'm sure we'll talk about as the tight end, probably one of the best athletes in the draft. And so I think that's going to help him out for sure. But yeah, so 14 for Matt Ryan.
15, we both have Trevor Lawrence. This is pretty simple. If you go 15 deep and he's available, he's worth that shot.
Yeah, absolutely. And you and I have talked about Trevor Lawrence in the past when he was at Clemson, and I've been a big fan of Trevor Lawrence since even actually his high school days. Great arm. He seems just like an awesome kid. I think he's going to be a winner in the NFL for sure.
Eric says, I got a fantasy draft happening when I'm in Iceland. He's a big traveler, and he's flying over to Iceland if he can leave for vacation.
Oh.
When he's in Iceland, going to do it on a phone call at 1 a.m. in Iceland. Let's hope you get the connectability.
Yeah, that's right. And that's dedication right there, too. I love it.
It certainly is. And welcome in, Paul Vines. Thank you for joining us. For anyone just joined us now, we are both starting between 8 to 10 fantasy leagues between the two of us. And we started our ranking of ball players. So we thought, why not share it with you? This is just our first preliminary rankings. We will update this as it gets closer once exhibition games stop. But anyone that's in fantasy or follows football, who knows, maybe you'll find some of this stuff interesting. So that concludes the quarterback portion.
Yep.
Now we go on to running backs. So, this is a no-brainer. We both picked McCaffrey for number 1.
Yeah, I'm kind of shocked to see that you have Christian McCaffrey number 1, just after hearing your concerns with Dak's injury and Burrow's injury and McCaffrey kind of coming off banged up and being injured. So, I mean, kind of does it all, and he's pretty much going to be that entire offense in Carolina. So, for me, it's a no-brainer. I'm shocked that you have McCaffrey there.
Well, if you think about it, both people we picked, was it Burrows and
Dak
didn't play a game at the end of the season, so you have no way of telling. McCaffrey actually came back and played. So he was on the field and he was taking hits. So that's why I'm basing it then after an off season now, he's going to probably come back at 100%. So it doesn't seem as much of a question to me.
Best pass catching back, definitely out of the wide receivers for sure too. So
it's going to be interesting with the quarterback situation there.
Yeah. Your boy Sam Darnold.
Yeah, interesting guy to pick up in the free agency, huh? I don't think very highly of him, do you?
Yeah. I do, as long as he's in the right system. I think that New York system, I just don't think it was right for Darnold. I don't know, and they never had any weapons for him. But I think he's got plenty of arm talent. He was great in college. So,
well, that's a big thing. There was nothing for him. All of a sudden, they rebuilt the team, right?
Robbie Anderson, and then all of a sudden, Robbie Anderson's out of there.
Right.
So,
actually, he's back on Carolina.
Yeah, so that's right.
That'd be an interesting connection.
Right, yeah.
We have Mariah Hyatt. Today, I'm spending time with my friends at a public pool. That sounds nice. We still haven't gotten warm weather over here in southern New Hampshire.
It doesn't even look like it for the next 10 days either.
Eric says, I agree with 14 of y'all, 15 would replace Hurts on Brandon's side and Lawrence on John's side, both with Tua. I knew Tua was the new guy that came to it. When we review this in a few weeks, maybe Tua will make it into our top 15. Yeah. You get to whisper in his ear, Eric, and give him a good preseason. Danny says, John, do you want in our league?
There you go. One more league for you.
Yeah, I know.
That's one more.
Danny ran a nice league. He did an online draft last year. Give me the details, Dan. If we can do it, maybe I'll do it with Brandon as my partner. But thanks for the offer. Okay, number 2 on the list. He just has such good numbers. That's why I took Henry. I don't love Henry, but he's got such good numbers.
Yeah. And so we were basing ours on PPR, and so point per reception for those of you that don't know what PPR is. So Henry's a little further down on my list. If we were doing standard league scoring, I would definitely put Henry number 1. But I think Henry's absolutely incredible and standard wise for sure. I got Barkley at 2. Kind of all around, I think he could be just as good as McCaffrey. The only issue is he's coming off that injury. So,
I love Barkley.
Yeah. I think you drafted Barkley last year, right?
Yeah. Well, it was the auction league, though.
That's right.
I lost after a couple of years.
Yeah, okay, that's right, yeah.
And just so anyone knows, I probably should have thrown this out. The way all the leagues were in, basically, you get a point for a reception every 10 yards. I think it's all-purpose yards. So every stat counts. That's why Brandon shies a little bit away from Henry. But I think the other numbers get so offset the weakness he has so much that he's still a top fantasy guy. I went with actually we'll look at the other two since we'll look at the next 2 spots since we flip-flop it. That's funny. Okay, I've got Kamara and Cook, and you've got Cook and Kamara. So it's probably not a heck of a lot of difference, right?
I think it's a coin flip, honestly, yeah. I actually have Kamara in a few leagues and a few keeper leagues, so I like the fact that he's up there 3. And I think you have Cook in a league as well too, so it's funny how that's the case. But I mean either or essentially. The only reason I went Cook is just because I think they're gonna run the ball as Minnesota does a little more than New Orleans, and then the quarterback play for New Orleans kind of scares me with Winston or Taysom Hill. So Drew Brees is no longer there. And so I think that kind of knocks Kamara just a little bit, just because I think teams might kind of crowd the box a little bit more on him. Yeah,
justifiable logic anyways. Let me take a quick peek here. Let's see. Sure. Okay, done through Hulu. Yeah, Danny, I will talk to you offline on that. Find out when the whole thing would be the draft date. I definitely do it if the draft date worked. Barkley is great if he can stay healthy. That is a problem.
Yeah, sure.
Maybe welcome in KC, a good friend of ours from Texas, who's an absolute Patriots hater.
Yeah.
So, Casey, just so you know, Brandon here is a huge Laker fan. He's a big Laker fan.
Okay.
We came in a short time.
Okay, perfect. Yeah.
And also a Patriot hater, and he's from the area. So you do have friends in low places, high places here, whatever you want to call it.
How you look at it. I'd be curious to know about the thoughts on the Westbrook trade. I know where this is fantasy football related here, but potentially we haven't even talked about the Westbrook trade. But so I'm just curious.
I love it only because I think it's going to hurt LA. Yeah. So that's why I love it. the youngster here is my son-in-law, who we banter. It's like me and UKC. We banter about sports all the time. And we decided to do a live this is like a fourth live together on sports. And we decided to do the rankings since we're both in a ton of fantasy football leagues. We decided to do a little ranking thing on the end. So that's the back to Eric. Kamara catches a lot of passes. I remember Winston did throw for 5K last year. The last year he started.
Yeah,
he's an interesting guy. We don't have, neither one of us has Winston, and if the guy just changed his mental approach, and cut down the interceptions.
Yeah. Well, they just said he got LASIK, got some eye surgery, so now he's all so he's all good now. Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
All right, so you're down the fifth spot, Mixon. I think he's gonna have a big year for Cincinnati. I like the guy. I think he's one of the top running backs, and this is where you dropped Henry down on your side.
Yeah, and Joe Mixon has killed me for multiple years, so that's probably why I have him down at 12.
I was going to say, I think you're doing that for personal reasons because he has killed you.
Yeah, I drafted him his rookie year, and it was a pretty good year, and then kept him for a couple of years, and he just hasn't panned out, whether it's injuries or whatnot. So yeah, he's dropped on my list for sure.
Yeah. Barkley's number 6. I think he could go much higher. If I know he's healthy, they're going to work him back slowly, which is a good sign. That means he is going to start working back.
Yeah.
So that's good. And you got Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, Ezekiel Elliott, and so my wife does some fantasy football, and actually had his Elliott last year, maybe 2 years ago, and he was awful, and so it kind of hurts me to put this here, but I think he's gonna have a bounce back year, and I don't know if you saw any of the videos of his body, and everybody was kind of laughing a few years ago about kind of how chunky he looked. He looked completely out of shape. I think that was during the contract extension talks. So I think last year that might have been, and this year he looks pretty good and looks in shape. And so I'm anticipating that teams aren't going to be able to stack the box with the amount of wide receivers, and he'll get his. Now who knows? But I think Elliott's plenty of talent at that 6th spot.
Yeah, and I got him at 7, so it's not far behind. My only fear is his fumbleitis a little bit. If you can get rid of that, he'll go back to his early career form.
Yep.
And your number 7 was Eckler?
Austin Eckler, yeah. Again, PPR, and so plenty of passes that goes his way. I think Herbert's gonna kind of lean on him quite a bit, and he's actually an underrated actual running back as well too. So I think Eckler's going to have a big year, and he had a great year last year too. So
what's interesting, he took over for Gordon a couple of years ago, and Gordon was the guy. Went over to Denver, and neither one of us has Gordon on our top 15.
Yeah,
so how's the mighty drop, right?
That's right. And Gordon was holding out a while for a contract extension, and then it just kind of bit him.
He was like the. Why can't I get the guy
Le'Veon
from Pittsburgh?
Le'Veon Bell.
These guys don't. I think their agents give them some bad advice sometimes. Going over to the chat, KC says, "Hello, young man. Nice to meet you. Knew you're a good guy. Go Lakers and Clippers."
Love it, Casey.
He lived in California for quite a while, and then his wife moved to Texas.
Okay,
so that's why he's a big LA fan.
I grew up a Kobe fan. That's kind of what started me on the Lakers bandwagon here. So.
Yeah, right. RBs will always be a couple guys. It never used to be that way, though. Remember when you were one workhorse guy, and nowadays it seems everything's by committee.
Yeah, always. There's very few bell cows, that's for sure.
All right, so we move down to the 8th spot. I have Jonathan Taylor. I'm not sure why I have him this high, to tell you the truth. On the next one, he'll probably drop down lower, especially with the injury to the starting quarterback on Indianapolis right now. Yeah. So, but I've got him there. He had some good stats. I think he's going to have a decent year. And you have Chubb.
I have Chubb, yeah, and I actually have Taylor right behind him. So I think we're kind of right. They were kind of right there. So I don't think your Taylor pick is that crazy. Yeah, Nick Chubb actually just got a contract extension today or yesterday. Yesterday. Yeah, yesterday. So no kind of contract worries there or that looming over, and so I think he's honestly he'd be ranked higher if Hunt wasn't behind him stealing some touches from him. So
I'm going to jump down to 12. I have Chubb low, and I I didn't even want him in my top 15, but he had to fit in there somewhere. He's got great stats, but I've always been a Hunt fan, and I think Hunt takes probably more stats away from him than any other backup
Oh, absolutely.
second quarterback, running back in the league. And so that's why now if Hunt gets hurt, boy, it's going to be a
Big year, yeah.
huge thing.
Yeah.
So that's why Chubb is so low.
Yeah, I think that's the best duo in the NFL for running backs.
For my ninth spot, I had have Edwards because of basically now he's the running back there. Beltran, who I thought was going to split the time with him. He had a decent rookie season. I think he's going to build on that this year.
Yeah, I like that pick. I think he's talented out of LSU. I think they have Damian Williams still there, and there's been talks that they're going to go 50-50 back share. Who knows if that's Andy Reid just kind of blowing smoke or whatnot. But I think Hilaire actually could be a stud, or I could see him kind of getting lost or kind of splitting carries at least. And so I went Jonathan Taylor just because he's definitely the guy there in Indy.
I'm surprised I noticed this because you were high last year on Edwards.
Huge, yeah.
You don't even have him in your top 15.
No, not in the top 15 because of the fact that I think that he's going to split carries and like an even 50-50 split. But I was very high on him, yeah.
I see a couple guys here that we really differ. Boy, we're differing more on running backs than Carson. Yeah. My next one, number 10 slot, is Chris Carson. I think he is a big year. The only thing holding him back is injuries.
Yeah.
If it's not injuries, I think he's going to have some top 10 numbers.
Yeah, I probably actually should have Chris Carson in there. I think, I didn't know who to take out. Maybe take out DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson, perhaps. But I think Chris Carson's definitely a stud, and if he stays healthy, I agree with that. I mean, he could easily be top 15, top 10.
And you've got Gibson as your number 10.
Yeah, I think Antonio Gibson's a sleeper, and now after this list here, I'm wishing that I didn't tell you that he's a sleeper because now you're probably taking a mental note of that. But
no, because wasn't he the guy that was a sleeper? Did he start out as a wide receiver? Is that the guy I'm thinking of?
I'm not sure. I mean, he's a great pass catching running back, so that could be the case where he actually
qualified as receiver. I thought
at some point. Could be the case. Yeah, and then he started coming alive late last year, and then he. Towards the end of the season, he got dinged up with like turf toe or something like that, something that was kind of nagging him, and he kind of slowed down. But I'm thinking it's going to be a big year for him.
Okay, I think he's too high, but that's an interesting one. Now, you don't even have this guy on your list, which I'm surprised. Montgomery, huh? Don't think much of him?
Actually, I think a lot of them, but I think Terry Cohen's gonna be there stealing carries and catches from Montgomery, and so Cohen got hurt. I think in the preseason last year, and so Montgomery was like the number one guy for them, and I think which inflated his numbers. But I think with Cohen back, I think that's gonna hurt him. And I think Montgomery's a great running back, but I don't think he's in the top 15 by any means.
Okay, yeah, I'm going with him as the lead running back. We'll see how that pans out. And you've got Aaron Jones, which is a guy I didn't even want to put on my top 15, but
okay,
I did.
I'm curious why that might be.
I'm not really sure why. I just looked at the numbers and he just didn't. Maybe it's because there's so much passing going on with Rodgers that they just don't go to the ground game as much as I think. Yeah,
I think with Rodgers, I think a lot of teams kind of back off, and it gives Aaron Jones plenty of room for carries, and he's actually a decent pass catcher. Although I have this one play that actually cost me a week last year in fantasy football where he dropped the ball in the end zone wide open. But so as I'm saying that, I'm thinking about that. But yeah, I think he is he's a great pass catching running back.
And I gave you my reasons why Chubb is way down to 12th. I'm surprised you have Mixon this low at 12.
Like you said, it's probably a personal vendetta. But I think he's talented. He got injured last year. I will say this, so that Cincinnati offensive line could be one of the top offensive lines in the NFL, which would help Mixon's case for sure.
Right, give him a big year. We have, let's see. Okay, hellos. We have Hands Full, Heart Full. Thanks for joining us. Loving seeing my guy CMAC at number one.
CMAC, baby, yeah.
Sean and Casey. Casey, bye, guys. Get ready for live. I'll have to drop over there later on today. Thanks for joining us, Casey. And we go down to 13th, which I thought, well, I actually have the same spot, so I guess I shouldn't say it. think this guy's going to have a huge year. For some reason, Pittsburgh just seems to be able to churn out top running backs year after year, and he's just going to be the next one. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, as a big fan of the Steelers, I think he's a stud. I think that offensive line is horrendous though, and they lost actually two of their best offensive tackles from last year when it was horrendous then. So I think that offensive line could be pretty bad. So I don't know. I think talent-wise, he's 13. I don't know if he's going to perform as well as 13, though, just because of the offensive line. And I don't think Ben Roethlisberger's arm scares anybody anymore. So I think teams will probably load the box on Najee Harris.
And number 14th, I gave you my synopsis on why I have him ranked so low. So I'll have to go through that again. Just lack of work, I guess.
Sure.
Dobbins.
Yeah, I really like J.K. Dobbins, and Baltimore obviously runs the ball more than anybody, and I think he's the guy now, and I think he could have a big year just on sheer workload and like how creative they are running the ball.
Okay, Gibson. Basically, I think he's going to have a decent year. Not as much of a surprise as people think, but I have him at the fringe at 15. And you had him up at 10. I would take his place. I totally forgot all about Swift. Now, he's like a third-year guy, right?
I think second year,
year?
Maybe third. Yeah, I'm trying to think now if he was drafted last year. But anyways, yeah, he's 2 or 3.
He was supposed to be coming out as the guy, and he had kind of a very off rookie year. But yeah, he's the one. If they go to him again, it's going to be, is he going to be the main carrier or not,
Yeah, and so it was weird because he was drafted as the guy out of Georgia, but then for some reason he got lost in the depth chart early on in the preseason. Although he had great games in the preseason, it was almost like they were trying to hide him or preserve him or something, and then he started coming along strong towards the middle half of the year and then the end of the year too. So I think he could be a sleeper for sure.
Let's check the chat. We're going to move on to receivers now. Oh, geez. Thank Casey again. Thank you. A super sticker. Thank you very much. Hey, guys. Good to see you. Okay. Is he from LSU?
DeAndre Swift? Or I think maybe it was Hilaire, maybe they're talking about. I'm not sure.
Which player, Danny? Which player are you talking about?
Because I think Swift is from Georgia, I think, but not 100% positive on that.
Actually, you know what? Let me find it real quickly here. Hold on one second, Brandon. All right. This is thanks again.
Okay.
I'll explain that to you.
All right. I'm assuming it had something to do with that sticker, Bob.
Okay, so we're on the receivers now.
Oh, I think there's one other thing. Like Sweat is not from LSU. Yeah. Swift, maybe? Swift, yeah. I think that's what it's supposed to be. I was looking at the chat there.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry.
Did you answer the question? Or?
I'm not sure if there's any more to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
We'll wait and see. All right, receivers, top 15 receivers. And we do decrease some of the other positions, the amount we do, but quarterback, running back, and receivers, it's pretty hard to go less than 15, top 15.
Yeah.
Okay, number 1. Actually, we both kind of have the same thing, just reverse, right? Adams, I'm going on past numbers, and I guess Hill's the same thing.
Yeah.
Thinking they're both going to have big years.
Yeah.
Anything to add with that?
I mean, I think either way, it'll win if you get any one of those guys. So no matter what.
Wow, that's pretty good. Yes, being by donkey.
That's right. That's right.
And the next, geez. Okay, let's go down 3 slots since we agreed. So we'll go right down those. Hopkins. I think he's going to put up some big numbers this year.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think Hopkins is going to be. I think he's going to be a stud. And you know what? I actually had a hard time with 1, 2, and 3, just because I wasn't entirely sure kind of the order by any means, but I definitely think those are the top 3 wide receivers, and I think you could shuffle them in any type of way. But yeah, I think Hopkins is great, and a very offensive-minded offense with Cliff Kingsbury. So
You can't go wrong with any of those 3.
no,
I do think Hopkins stands out a little bit more, like you said, and maybe experienced Diggs will give you the nod over Ridley just a little bit.
yeah,
So then we get on the 6th spot. This guy surprised me when I was doing the numbers and checking them out. I didn't think he was such a strong wide receiver, but he really moves right up to the top of the charts.
yeah, yep, for sure. I'm just worried about. I'm always worried about sophomore slumps. I get worried, and I don't know why, but it just seemed like a thing when I talked about that with Justin Herbert. But I think I have him a few slots lower just because of that. But I think Justin Jefferson's awesome. I went DK Metcalf. I'm thinking he's huge, big physique, great hands. I think he runs routes way better than what they talked about, that he was kind of knocked on and coming out of college for. So I think he's going to have a huge year. And I'm looking, and you do have DK in yours, okay?
Yeah, the only reason DK I have him down lower at 11 is because he shares the spotlight with Lockett.
Yeah, nope, that's fair. Yeah,
and I'm not sure what the breakdown is. I don't have the numbers in front of me, but it's going to be pretty much down the middle, I would bet you, as far as throwing the ball to each guy.
Yeah, I think Lockett might actually get more targets. I'm not positive, but I think Metcalf does a little bit more with them, and he gets more of the red zone targets.
Okay, here we agree. Keenan Allen.
And that's a shocker to me. I didn't think you would have Keenan Allen that high.
Yeah, only because, when you have guys on your team, you seem to watch them a little bit closer on a Sunday afternoon.
Yeah, sure,
and he always has a solid years. Him and actually the next guy on my list, Robinson.
Yeah.
It was a debate which would go first here. I kind of look at them as one of the same type of player.
Sure. My worry with Keenan Allen is he is never healthy, ever. Yeah. He never is healthy. But when he's healthy, his production's incredible. So you just gotta. I mean, if you draft Keenan Allen, you gotta just assume that he's gonna miss some games.
Right. And your next guy, I told you why I like Robinson. Same reason that I go with Allen. But Justin, I have him up. Where do I have him? I have him 6. You have him 8.
Yep. Yeah. So I think Justin Jefferson is definitely a stud. Again, that sophomore slump makes me a little nervous.
Now, this is an interesting one. You don't even have him on your list. I've always had him as one of my top. Is this because of you figured Jefferson's taken away throws?
Yeah, I think Jefferson's going to take away some targets for sure. And for me, it's tough as you look at my list. I don't know. I'm like, who do I take out of there? I think Thielen's great. I think these guys are going to be just a little bit better though.
Yeah. Well, so why do you go with?
I love Scary Terry McLaurin. I think he's honestly, if he had a quarterback, I think I would have him in top 6. Honestly, really? I think he's that talented. His issue is he doesn't have a quarterback, and he hasn't had a quarterback, and he still puts up phenomenal production. I think with Fitzmagic, maybe the Washington football team, I think maybe he can spread it around a little bit, and McLaurin could be a stud. So that's why I have him there.
Interesting. Going to the chat for a second. I think they're going back to Clyde. Okay, wait a minute. Is he from LSU? Yeah, Danny said Sweat. It's not from LSU. Clyde is LSU.
Yeah.
We are good. Sorry. I guess they're agreeing. I would definitely know if he was from LSU. That's from Eric. Danny says, thanks for making the list. Now I don't have to make my own.
Yeah. It's cheat sheet for you. Yeah.
I agree with that. Honey says, a Chargers fan. I agree. Keenan Allen is awesome when he's healthy. Yeah, there again, health.
Yeah. What a great, what you say, Heidi? Is that
Honey you're talking about?
Yeah.
Honey from the Beach Life?
Oh, Honey from the Beach Life. What a great steal Herbert was, though. Everybody was knocking Herbert kind of coming out of college, and a lot of people thought he might slip a little bit, and that was a great pick. And so as a Chargers fan, you must be pumped with that pick.
When we do our next update, we're going to throw injury factors, position battles into the fact on our picks. Right now, this is just a straight out basing it on what we see as stats going to happen this year based on last year. We'll hopefully, it'd be interesting to see how much our ranking shifts once we have to take that stuff in and start watching a few exhibition games.
Sure.
Danny seems to think you are a Cowboys fan, huh?
I must be. Dak, as high as I had him, and Elliott as high as I had him, maybe.
You think you'll be a closet one? I've never heard you really praise Dallas.
I know. I don't think so. I just, and maybe shame on me, but I've always thought that their rosters were always pretty stacked, especially in the past couple of years, and they probably should be better than they have been. But so fantasy-wise, though, they've been pretty darn good.
Eric says top 5. Completely agree. Not the order. Okay, he would have Hopkins 1, Hill 2. Not there's anything wrong with that. And Adams 3.
Okay.
Diggs 4, Ridley 5.
Okay,
they can't really argue with that either. I agree with Jefferson and Allen, the 6 and 7.
One thing I am going to say about Ridley, though, and we didn't talk about this, and I should have, is he hasn't been the top guy ever. He's had Julio as the number 1 guy, and he's been able to do his thing as a number 2. So this will be interesting. I could see Ridley being phenomenal, or I could see him being kind of not middle of the pack, but maybe on the lower end of the top 15, just because he, is he going to see more double coverage, compared to just one-on-one? So
I don't see him as number 1 guy. Like so many of these number 1 guys that they tried to, or they thought was going to, number 2 guys that they thought was going to be a number 1, and never pans out.
Exactly.
Because they get all the attention, as you're saying.
Right.
And I think Ridley's one of those. Yeah. We'll find out.
He's talented, though. I think he'll be just fine.
Honey says, yes, I was really sad about Rivers being let go, but super excited with Herbert. I think keep saying it. I worry about sophomore slumps as well, but I am hoping that Herbert will overcome it. Now, quarterbacks, receivers, it hits a lot. You don't really hear about sophomore slumps with quarterbacks that often. If you think about all the top quarterbacks, so I think he's going to be fine.
I do too. I think he's got high expectations after last year. I don't know if he'll match those game in, game out. But.
Danny says 2
that makes sense.
receivers on the list.
Makes sense, yeah.
And John has 0.
Okay.
I almost put Cooper on my list, though. I like Cooper, but
so maybe I'm not a Cowboys fan, and John is a Cowboys hater. Maybe that could be it.
The funny thing is, Cowboys has always been one of my favorite teams.
So I guess not.
After the Patriots, Miami and Dallas have been 2 of my, closet fans.
Okay.
Closet teams. Okay, number 10, Tennessee, A.J. Brown. Interesting. Will he lose? I put this in there not really thinking about the Julio Jones factor.
Yeah.
So that's going to be interesting. Does Tannehill have enough throws in him to get both receivers? But and you have the same thing as number 10. So
interesting, too. When is the last time you saw A.J. Brown ranked ahead of Julio Jones? That's interesting. Normally, Julio is kind of top 10, top 5 maybe. So
well, I got Julio's 13. You got him as 14. Yeah. When was the last time you saw 12 other guys ranked?
I know, yeah, right, exactly, right, exactly.
And then we moved down to Metcalf. So I'm going with my Seattle receiver here, a lot lower than yours. Yours was number 6, and you're going with Allen Robinson.
Yeah.
What are your reasons for Allen?
So the reason is I think he's actually phenomenal, and I've had Allen Robinson in a few leagues. It's a quarterback play though. Is it going to be Justin Fields? Is the rookie out of Ohio State? Is he going to be the quarterback? I don't know. Is Allen Robinson actually still in Chicago now? I'm just thinking about that.
Yeah,
he did. Okay, because I know what it was. As Baltimore was talking about potentially trading for him at some point. So that's why I was like,
several
wait a second.
teams.
Exactly. So again, is it Justin Fields? Who's it going to be? And so that's why I just knock him a little bit for that.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. The whole quarterback situation in Chicago. It's going to be fun to watch.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's funny, the last 3 out of 4 we totally disagree on. The only one we have in common, so I'm going to go to him first, is Julio.
Yeah, sure.
He's got to make this list just for the sake of his reputation. His career, right?
I think so, too. And it'll be interesting to see. Does A.J. Brown become the number 1, and then Julio doesn't see as many double coverages as he saw in Atlanta? And Julio could end up having a better season than A.J. Brown just because of that.
What a great situation for Tannehill to be in, though, huh? You hand off to one of the top backs in the league, or you get 2 of the top receivers out there.
Unbelievable. And then you got a pretty solid pretty decent defense too. So that
Yeah.
the Titans should make some noise.
Yeah, and they're talking big things for the Titans this
Yeah.
year, so we'll see what happens. Okay, so we both there's a Julio turn. Now let's go to the other three. Now I've got Evans here. I don't know if Evans should be here or Evans should be 15. He's going to split the receptions with Godwin. One of those guys is going to be the dominant one, and one's not, right?
You got Brown that re-signed as well too. So
Brown's an interesting one. Is he going to get much, or is he going to be that third receiver that you really don't see that often? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It was there were games where he was non-existent, games when Brady just seemed to force feed him.
And then you picked the overrated Robert Woods.
Overrated. Okay. I think with a little better quarterback play with Matt Stafford, I think that's going to help him out. And I think he's talking PPR wise, he's a PPR kind of, not, I wouldn't say stud, but he's solid. He catches plenty of balls. So I think he should definitely be in the top 15.
Top 15. Let's see. We've got Eric says Michael Thomas, even missing games, will do well because he's clearly a number one in New Orleans.
Well, you better.
And I will use that argument when I get down to my 14th slot. Okay, so my next one is Michael Thomas. I have him at 14th, and it's scary with the quarterback situation, man. That's why he's so low.
Yep. So that's a thing, and the reason I don't have him in here is because he just had ankle surgery. Why he waited so long to have it after the end of the year, I don't know. That's interesting. When he's on the field and he's not injured, he is easily a top 5 wide receiver. I think he's going to miss more time than you think. He missed plenty of time with that high ankle sprain all last year. And so I think he'll be an interesting draft pick because it's, high risk, high reward type of deal. And that's kind of where I'm at. And that's why he's not on my top 15. All of a sudden a good report comes out 2 or 3 weeks later, whenever we update this, you might see him on my list.
It's funny. A year or two ago, he was a number one receiver at some point. You remember that?
Yeah. And that quarterback play too. If Taysom Hill wins that job, that's going to affect Michael Thomas in a negative way for sure.
Absolutely. And my last one could be swapped with your last one. I've got Cooks because I think he's the number one receiver there, but you got to have someone getting the ball. So everything's going to depend on the quarterback and over there. So he very easily, I could swap him with Cooper, who's they're both probably compatible, even though they've got some better receivers right now at
and so for me, with Houston, I'm looking at quarterback play, and so that's why I can't put Brandon Cooks in there. I do have CeeDee Lamb at 13, and I just want to talk just quickly about CeeDee Lamb and the reason why he's there. No, it's okay. Yeah, ahead of Amari Cooper. I just think here I am talking about sophomore slumps, and I for some reason I just have this feeling that CeeDee Lamb is due for just an absolute breakout year, even as a sophomore. I think there are too many weapons there in Dallas for him not to do well. And he was coming along real strong last year, and that's why I think that he's due for a breakout year.
And Cooper?
Yeah, I mean, Cooper's steady. And again, is there too many hands in the there are too many cooks in the kitchen in that, on that roster? But I think he's a great wide receiver, runs awesome routes, and I think he'll be solid.
And that's all going to, I guess, depend on quarterback and how Dak comes back too.
Yeah.
Okay, moving on to tight ends. We cut this down to top 10. All right, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. So we'll just say a little bit about each of these. Kelsey, kind of a no-brainer, right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, absolutely, yeah. I mean, best quarterback in the league, best head in the league, no-brainer.
This was probably one of my toughest decisions in doing these rankings. I really wanted to put Kittle as number 2. But the numbers and the projections, I just couldn't do that. What are your thoughts? It looks like you did the same thing.
Yeah, I trust Derek Carr as I'm beating him up in the quarterback segment. I trust him a little bit more than Trey Lance or Jimmy Garoppolo, whoever's going to be the quarterback for San Fran. And so that's why I went Waller 2 and then Kittle 3. I mean, Kittle's awesome. If he had even a top 10 quarterback, I think you'd be right there with Travis Kelce, honestly.
And the next two, basically, we have the same two reversed. If you were to look at my list, probably in a 2 weeks or whatever when we revise it, that would probably be swapped. I love Pitts. A monster. He's going to be come right out of the gates as one of the top tight ends. I put Hawkinson just basically because a little leery with the rookie.
Yeah, I'm pretty high on Pitts, but I get that, and it's kind of a coin flip, honestly. I honestly think Kyle Pitts is probably the Trevor Lawrence being one. I think Pitts was number 2 of the best available coming out of the draft.
Higbee. Well, let's see. I mean, these last 4 are not as. I'll just go down my 4, and then you go through your 4.
Sure.
Any of these 4 could be swapped. Actually, I probably would move Gesicki from Miami up a couple notches, but I'm just going to throw those 4 out there as almost equal in my eyes. If it get down to that point, I'm not sure which one I would grab, but that's how I put them, just based on some projections that I had in front of me. And your last 4.
Yeah, kind of the same type of deal. Something about Logan Thomas that I love is he throws the ball a little bit for the Washington football team, and they run some trick plays where he throws it. So, maybe he steals you a throwing touchdown in a game or something like that. So I think that's just kind of cool. They run some gadget plays for him, and kind of like what you just said. All 4 of those guys could be interchangeable. I actually love Evan Ingram. If Danny Dimes can get him the football a little bit more, that'd be great. And whatnot. But I mean, Evan Ingram the past 2 years has been projected to be top 10, and even at one point I think he was top 4. But so yeah, I think he sneaks into the top 10.
Okay, we have Eric, who's trying not to be biased right here. Okay,
I like that.
Just because he has a Gesicki, is that how it's pronounced? Gesicki?
Yeah, Mike Gesicki. Yeah.
Jersey and met his parents and all, but I think Gesicki should be top 5.
Top 5. That's
no bias.
That's high.
Keep that in mind.
That's high. To a top 5, Gesicki top 5, right?
I'm trying to see who. Let's see. Our top 5 gonna. Yeah, I'm not, so he's knocking out Pitts or Hawkinson. I maybe you can put him at 7. I don't see how you can go any higher than that, though.
He has been somebody that's been kind of talked about a decent amount for a breakout season. So who knows?
Yeah. Okay, we move on to kickers. Not one of the fun positions. That's why we only went 5 deep here.
Yeah.
This has been a long time no-brainer. Most leagues, not all, the most leagues actually give you points for the distance of the field goal. And as we know, this guy can kick them over 50 with ease. So that's a big part of this. Very consistent, very long distance.
Yeah. He doesn't miss a lot of field goals either. So sometimes you get a field goal or a kicker that misses 2 in a game that costs you 6 points, and Tucker will steal those 6 points because he doesn't miss them. So I think, right. I think he's an easy one.
I had Koo as number 2, and you have him number 4. Just looking at the projected number, I just thought that those are the kind he'd be up there. You go with Butker?
Yeah, from Kansas City. Kickers, it's one of those things. You want somebody that doesn't miss a ton and gets plenty of opportunity with that Chiefs offense. They're normally on the right side of the field for a potential field goal. So I got Butker too.
And that's how I lean to. I have him number 4, and strictly he probably could even be higher. But I look at both Buffalo and it's the same type of thing, high scoring and a lot of opportunities. So these are the kind of guys you want. You've got Butler. Do you have?
Yeah, I got 2.
You have Bass.
I don't have Bass in there. Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
You pick Greg DeLeg.
Yeah. So Greg DeLeg Zerline. Kind of bombs it. Obviously, you don't get the name Greg DeLeg for nothing. And he's been one of the top kickers in the league for 10 years now. So somebody that kicks long field goals, gets maybe kicks 2 40-yard field goals, and there you go. You got 8 points right there. So,
okay. And then you get Koo down there.
Yeah.
So really, you get Lutz.
You got Bass.
And I got Bass. Yeah. Bass for the obvious reason I think I said, because of high scoring club. And Lutz why you round out the 5 with him?
Yeah, I went Lutz just because kicking indoors, Saints kicker, kicks indoors and so for half his game. So And he's been a clutch kicker. So I get the Tyler Bass. That makes sense. The only thing is, kicking in Buffalo, outdoors, plenty of wind sometimes in Buffalo, and you never know, are you going to get some snow? Is that going to take you out of some field goal opportunities? Where in New Orleans, you're kicking indoors. So kickers are always a coin flip.
Well, for years I used to draft the Denver kicker. I think it was the punter, strictly because of the air.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Brandon McManus, was that who?
No, that wasn't who I got at that point.
Okay.
But there was that, and then I looked at the dome stadiums. So exactly like you said, if there's any kind of a difference, you get your top kickers like Baltimore's outdoors. That could be some pretty crappy weather, but the guys get such a dominant leg.
Oh yeah.
But a lot of them, I remember the Detroit kicker because of the dome and different things like that.
Yeah.
Okay, so those are our kickers. Let's move on to our defense. Now, these are team defense. We are also in leagues where you draft defense, linebackers, linemen, all sorts. That's a fun league. That takes a while. I think it's our auction league, right?
Yeah.
And well, me and Brandon are not partners in any league. It's just funny. We're in some of the same leagues, but we're always opponents.
Here we are giving up some secrets.
I know, yeah. Well, how do we know? We could just be throwing that out.
Yeah, that's right. Well, I got the scout.
The whole intent, right. Okay, so the first one, actually the first two, we seem to be in agreement. Steelers, who I thought were going to take a huge step back this year, the way they were talking, all of a sudden have come on strong and kind of favors one of the top defenses in the league this year.
Yeah, as a Steelers fan, it was kind of heartbreaking to see the amount of injuries that they suffered throughout the year, and Devin Bush being kind of their best linebacker. I'd argue he's their best defensive player. Ends up tearing his ACL early on in the year, and then it just seems like the injuries kept trickling down and affecting them. The injury bug kind of got them on the defensive end, and by the end of the year, they were just gashed defensively. So I think everybody coming back, hopefully healthy. I think they're probably they should be the top defense.
Yeah, and I think most of the experts, which is not us, but I mean the experts out there are picking them to be a top defense this year.
Yeah.
And the Rams, who have always had a strong defense, I think they're going to have another one this year.
Yeah, I mean, you got the best defensive player in Aaron Donald on your team. You're probably going to be pretty darn good, yeah.
Colts, I'm not sure why I put Colts ahead of the Ravens. I always think of the Ravens as a strong team, but I just thought that the Colts have done some moves this year that's going to give them. They're going to need a defense now with the quarterback out.
Sure. Yeah.
You went with the Ravens next. Can't argue that.
Yeah, just always a solid defense, and I think they just always perform on the defensive end.
And then you picked the Washington for the
Washington football team, yeah, and they were one of the top 5 defenses last year, and I think they're only going to get better. They're kind of like the surprise that
right.
in the league last year, and Ron Rivera's done a great job with that team, so I think they're going to be strong again.
And I have them followed up as my number 5, same reasons. And then you got, there again, we're right behind each other here. You got Tampa Bay as your number 5. I got Tampa Bay as their number 6.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, all you had to do was watch them go through the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, Super Bowl, that defensive line just got after you. And they didn't lose anybody. I think I think they'll have plenty of sacks, plenty of turnovers, which is obviously what you need in fantasy.
Right, exactly. And they're only strong this year. I think they got a couple draft choices there. They're going to help them out in the long run also. Bills, both pick Bills. Always a strong defense, now a strong offense, so they should be very dominant this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And I went 49ers before the Bills, and I think the 49ers 2 years ago had the top defense in the league, and then last year they suffered a ton of injuries, kind of like my Steelers did, and kind of fell off a little bit. But I'm assuming everybody comes back healthy.
My 8th is the Patriots. I think they did some fantastic upgrades. The only problem is it was off by free agency. I always hate when they bring free agents in because you never know how they're going to perform. Yeah. Usually they do not perform to the contract. So that scares me.
Is Adalius Thomas. You remember Adalius Thomas? Yeah. That's right where my mind goes with Matt Judon when they got Matt Judon from the Ravens, and that makes me think it's like Adalius Thomas all over again.
Oh, they got 2 or 3 guys there on the defense that if they play to their capability, it'd be fantastic defense.
Yeah,
absolutely. And then you get the whole Gilmore situation. So who knows?
Oh yeah, and he's starting on the PUP list, right? I think he's.
Oh, I didn't hear that.
Yeah, so I think he's starting the season on the pup list. Now, I don't know if that means he's missing any games. Oh, well,
No, you don't. If you don't miss any games, if you're not on it when the season
It
starts,
starts. Okay, that's right. Yeah.
so you can put anyone on it until then, I guess.
So, but they were thinking it's for contract talks or potential trades. So
Yeah. Probably so they don't. Yeah, he doesn't get injured or something like that.
Yeah.
Now I had the Colts at 3. You have them at 8.
Yeah. I mean, again, defenses you can be up and down. Who knows? I think they're strong. I love Darius Leonard, the linebacker. He's all over the field for him. Makes a ton of plays. I just, I didn't know who to move off of that. Who would they overtake in my mind? So
yeah, but that's the thing. They can be good, but are they better than the ones above it? And I'm looking at all your teams above it. Really, you could have an argument for drop mine down there too.
Right.
We both have the Saints and the Chiefs as our last 2.
Yep.
Chiefs is the one that always tricks me. I don't want to put them there because I always think of them as offense and that's it. But if you look at the numbers, they had a pretty good defense last year.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times it's because they jump on teams and then teams are trying to play catch up, and then you get your sacks, you get your fumbles, you get interceptions because teams are trying to play catch up. So yeah, and Tyrann Mathieu is incredible, their safety, and so I think they have a sneaky defense for sure.
And the Saints?
Kind of the same type of deal. Now it'll be interesting this year what happens. Will Saints kind of jump on teams like they have in the past? But they've always had good pass rushers and kind of zip around the field, creating turnovers. So.
Okay, we've got Eric here who was really, you heard his feelings. He said no Miami in the defense.
So, all right, and so Miami was phenomenal.
Defense was good last year.
Yeah, no, it really was, and that's the reason why your boy Tua won a few games that he probably didn't perform for them to win. But Miami was probably one of my honorable mentions, and I did think about putting Miami on there for sure. And I got to say, Brian Flores has done a great job with that team.
Trying to think of where I had them. We shrunk this thing down from 10 to 15 to 10 just because defense. Let's see. Notes.
Dolphins ranked 8th there. Yeah. But.
Yeah. So in the preview, we had 8th at one point, and then it dropped down because we moved Kansas City up and the Colts up. Actually, look at it.
Yeah.
So just a matter of maybe in a couple of weeks that we'll change our mind, right?
Yeah, for sure. I gotta say it again. The Brian Flores has done a great job with that team, and I think I don't think they're kind of a joke in that AFC East anymore.
Where do you think they're going to finish?
I'm going to say they finished behind Buffalo. I'm going to say they finish ahead of New England.
So second place.
Yeah.
See, my heart
and that's tough for me because I think that's kind of a flip flop. New England could easily.
Well, my heart says New England, but it's my heart. I think my head says Buffalo and then Miami. But it's going to be tough. I wouldn't doubt there's only a game that separates them.
Yeah.
And, that's all it takes for one of those 2 teams not to make the playoffs.
Yeah, for sure. And I think those games, those New England, Miami games or Miami Buffalo games, those are going to be fun to watch. Great defenses. It's going to be, less of that. It was normally it's kind of like a lot more offensive. Now it seems like that division's kind of turned more defensive.
Well, and that's that division, but I'm just looking at the league as a whole this year. Never have you seen so many, like you could have, I'm trying to think of the quarterbacks. You could have 3 or 4 rookie quarterbacks starting out in their teams this year. Technically, you got the Patriots, depending on what happens in camp. Yeah. You got, of course, San Francisco. Between those 2.
Trevor Lawrence is a no-brainer. He's starting.
Right.
Yeah.
So there's 3. You got Chicago.
Justin Fields, perhaps, yeah.
And am I missing one? Yeah, the Jets.
Oh, yeah.
So you could have Zach 5 rookie quarterbacks.
Yeah.
What a fun league that
would be.
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah, that's interesting. Now, as a Patriots fan, does Mac Jones beat out Cam Newton?
He won't beat him out because Belichick won't do it. Yeah. He's going to give Cam, unless he really falls flat in his face, he's going to give him 2 or 3 games before he does that swap.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. Yeah, I can't imagine him going Mac Jones. It's been weird. I don't know if you've been following, but some Boston talk shows have had Mac Jones being great in training camp and everything, and some have said that he's looked mediocre. So it's again, what do you believe? Who's saying what?
It's pretty funny. I read this morning, and they breaking down. I think it's been 4 camps. Okay, They actually rank them. They had their stats and everything. They had, who was it? Matt won the first one. I think Cam won the second one.
Brian Hoyer win one of them?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
Third one they called a wash because they both did good. And the fourth one, which was yesterday, it was a wash, but because they both did terrible.
Oh, okay. So what do you believe?
So it's 1-1, I guess you'd call it. So it's pretty funny how they're doing that. And this is a non-contact type of. It's just them run the patterns, hit the guy inside.
Stuff.
And then they have all these rules. It's a completion if the guy drops it. Because they're just judging the quarterback's accuracy and all this kind of stuff. Pretty funny.
That's interesting. It's going to be great for the AFC East division. Obviously, the Patriots here and that you root for, in the AFC North, the division of the Steelers that I root for. Both those divisions are going to be fun to watch.
Yeah.
You got Pittsburgh and Baltimore, and here comes Cleveland and Cincinnati's up and coming, and then you have. Jets are probably a little step below, but then you have the three teams we just talked about right there. So that'll be fun.
And all three of those teams could have records that could get them close to the playoffs. I don't think it's going to be 500 teams like it had in the NFC East, I guess it was.
Yeah, I agree with that, yeah.
Yeah, Eric's got them second behind Buffalo, too. He wants to win division.
Okay. Yeah, I think that's fair.
Cam is the best dancing and styling quarterback in the league, yeah. Excuse me. Actually, he's been very complimentary to Matt Jones. So
has he been? Okay, yeah. So that's good.
It's not like there's an anger or friction going on in the locker room. At least we don't see it.
At least right. What do you? Yeah, again, what do you believe?
Final category is the rookies. We just took the top 5 because those are the names you hear out here now. I picked Trevor Lawrence just for basically all the hoopla. I mean, I really don't have to go into Trevor Lawrence. I mean, the number 1 quarterback, and he's going to start right away. So I'd put him, if I was to grab, if these rookies were out there, I probably would grab him first. And even tuck him away for next year or something.
Right. Yep.
You're going with a wide receiver.
I'm going Ja'Marr Chase, and I think Ja'Marr Chase is going to have a phenomenal year. And this is all if Burrows is healthy.
Right.
Because if Burrows is not healthy, then you can just throw Ja'Marr Chase out. Fun fact, they played together at LSU, and so obviously Burrows drafted 2 years ago. Chase drafted this year, but I think he's going to have a phenomenal year as long as Burrows is healthy. And I agree with your Trevor Lawrence assessment.
Actually, I get you right. It's a flip-flop. I just noticed that right here, and I'll give you all the same reasons with Chase. I just think he's going to have a fantastic year. But, I put it basically wide receiver, quarterback. I'd probably take the quarterback just for that. But, that makes sense. You could mix and match them depending on what your roster looks like, because rookies usually don't get drafted in the first couple rounds anyways.
Right, yeah. Right. Especially for me, like Trevor Lawrence, you probably can get him, now in an auction league, who knows, but you can probably get Trevor Lawrence a little further down as a backup quarterback, if you will. Question, speaking of Trevor Lawrence, does Tim Tebow make the Jacksonville Jaguars?
I'm sorry, he's in the cut yet.
Yeah, okay. So, it's just as a...
You don't hear his name anymore, do you?
So
I heard that Trevor Lawrence said he might not sign unless he's guaranteed that he was going to be there. My number 3, I'm surprised you didn't put him higher up, is Harris. I just think this guy is going to give them everything that they've lost in Bell and Connor. Who's Connor playing now? He's actually on a different team, right?
Yeah, was it Detroit maybe? I'm trying to remember where I saw him sign.
I'm trying to think of who it is.
Arizona maybe?
I just saw it yesterday. I can't remember.
Yeah.
I don't think it was Arizona.
Okay.
Let me see. Do we have anything up top here that tells us? Arizona. No, you're right.
Yeah.
It is Arizona. No, he's not even the lead back.
Yeah, so yeah.
Okay, so so I think he's going to give you everything that you need for running back, which is going to turn that up. Their biggest hole in my defense is their quarterbacking. I just another year of Big Ben, and I think it's going to hold them back.
Yeah, see, I have him 5 just because of that offensive line, and that offensive line is atrocious. And I don't think it's going to get any better with anything like they didn't really draft an offensive lineman till late. Who knows? Maybe somebody just comes up in camp and just comes out of nowhere. But I would love to see him at 3. Maybe 2 or 3 years down the road, maybe he's a top running back. But I think this year, I don't see him being as good as you have him.
Okay, that'd be an interesting one. You've got Justin Fields. I love Justin Fields. I wish the Pats are getting Justin Fields. I just don't think he's going to take over the reins for a while.
Yeah, and so that's why there's kind of an asterisk next to this. If he takes over the reins, I love Justin Fields. Honestly, I think he gives you a great arm as well as obviously great legs. And if he beats out Andy Dalton, if he doesn't, then obviously he's off my list. And 2-3 weeks, like we've been saying, maybe he's off this list, or maybe he's just still right there if reports come out that he could potentially win that job. But
right.
So yeah, I think if he wins a job, I got him 3.
Yeah, if he wins the job, I don't even have him in my. I don't think my top 15. He would certainly probably start making it up to that top 15 of my overall quarterbacks too. If he was given the starting role. We both have Pitts. Love the guy. Everything you could want in a tight end. I guess we said it all when we were talking tight ends. He made it into both of our top 15 tight ends, right?
Yeah, I don't know if you saw any of his combine numbers, but they're just absolutely off the charts. He's a freak athlete. I saw they're saying that he could be more athletic than Shannon Sharp, or even
really?
Aaron Hernandez, just athletic.
Yeah, I heard him comparing to Hernandez.
Yeah, so
in the good ways.
Yeah. So I love that pick by you, that Devontae Smith pick, by the way. That's a great choice.
I think he's got the talent. I think he's going to be a fun wide receiver, but that team, it's not that strong a team. I'm not too impressed with the overall makeup on offense right now, so maybe he'll stand out.
I think it depends on Jalen Hurts, honestly, who Alabama connection there with Smith and Jalen Hurts. So
right.
My only concern is, does that body hold up in the NFL? I mean, he is, I think, like 100, and I think they said like 175 or something like that. So he's not built like DK Metcalf by any means,
right.
but boy, is he a speedster, in that national title game, he was uncoverable. So.
And you go with Harris?
Yeah, I got Harrison. All the reasons I've said. I think I knock him on the quarterback play and knock him on the offensive line, and nothing against him. I think he's a tremendous talent. I think teams are going to stack the box, and I don't think their offensive line is even good. So.
All right. Well, then that finishes our position rankings. What we're going to do in a few weeks, once some exhibition games are played, once rosters are adjusted, we're going to come back on here with our list as you saw them, and we're going to update them. So if you want to join us then, that would be great. We appreciate you coming in today and joining Brandon and myself on our rankings, the early rankings on August 1st. And Nancy will be back on Wednesday. Please join us at 2 o'clock Wednesday afternoon for our live. And Brandon, would you like to say anything else before we?
No, it's great talking some football here with you, and throwing in a couple Lakers stuff, some Lakers stuff as well too. So I appreciate you having me, and thanks to everybody for tuning in.
And do you want to end on that basketball note you said on the trade that the Lakers made?
Yeah, let's talk.
I told you what I thought. What did you want to say about that?
I am going to say that I'm not a big fan of it. I think they gave up too much for him, and I just can't see how he fits. I have this interesting theory of, I think he'll play less with LeBron and Anthony Davis, and he'll kind of play half with them, half with the second team, and kind of try to take over with the second team. But I don't know. I'm not a fan of it, but Frank Vogel is a great coach, and hopefully he can figure it out. But
seems like they're giving away a lot of youth, though, in two trades in a row now with Lonzo, which I'm hoping the Celtics get, and
that's news to me. Yeah,
they're in the talk now with them, so we hope
that might be off Jan Travel's chatter right there. Yeah, but
that's right.
But yeah, so I think they give a little too much, but we'll see what happens. Right. for sure. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, they have 5 guys on their roster right now under contract, so we see free agent wise what they put around them. They got to find shooters though, because I mean, in today's NBA, you just traded for a non-shooter that's all
Another one,
dominant like LeBron James. So how's that going to work? Who
Right.
knows?
Well, we'll see. Well, thank you for joining us on our rankings, and we'll see you later. So
Awesome.
thank you very much for joining me, Brandon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Have a good Sunday, everyone.